Hello, my name is Jen Johnson. My pronouns are she and hers, and I'm the Director of Orientation, Transition, and Retention. Welcome to today's orientation webinar. As the Orientation Office, we prepare new students and families for the upcoming transition to AU through the coordination of intentional programming. We strive to help every new student connect, belong, and grow within our community. We bring the members of our community to bring their full selves to AU. We value human dignity and commit to being empathetic, inclusive, just, and respectful. Our goal is to welcome new Eagles to our community where individuals of all identities and experiences are understood, appreciated, and fully included. In the chat box is a link for live closed captioning. We will be recording the session and posting it to our YouTube channel with captions within 24 to 48 hours after this session concludes. You may use the question box feature to ask the presenters questions that will be answered live during this session. And we will be recording any questions for follow-up answers as needed. So without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to the Financial Aid Office.
Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Shirlene McDonald and I'm an Associate Director in the Financial Aid Office. Today I'm joined with my colleague Selena Healy. She will be answering your questions, so feel free to ask any questions that you have in the question box, and she'll be either responding privately if it has to do with a question specific to your circumstances, or to the group if it's an answer that'll be helpful to everyone. So let's begin. I first want to introduce you to our office. We're physically located in the Asbury building on campus. We have standard hours Monday through Friday. And the great news is that you can contact us anytime by emailing us at financialaid@american.edu. The neat thing that is specific to the Financial Aid Office is that everyone has a financial aid counselor. Okay, Jen. So I want you to know that we know, even though some of you are veterans to this process, that it's different at every single school and it can be challenging, so that we are here to help you. We will be communicating with you primarily through email, so please make sure that you check it. We will typically say right in the subject line, action required, and then it'll tell you what you need to do, or give you very timely and helpful information so that you don't get stuck in the process. If you remember nothing at all regarding this particular presentation, I really want to emphasize that you must remain full-time, meaning in at least 12 credit hours, in order for you to keep any funding given specifically from AU, whether it's merit scholarship funding or AU grant funding. You have to remain continuously enrolled in 12 credits. And then lastly, we do have a priority deadline for filing the FAFSA. It's May 1 for every student, every continuing student here at AU. So please make sure if you are receiving need-based aid from us that you go ahead and complete that FAFSA by May 1 every single year. Those are the things I really want to make sure that I stress and that you remember. So, as I mentioned before, every student has a financial aid counselor here at AU. This is our office, a little Zoom shot that gives you an idea of who we are, and we are here to help you through this process. And so please, 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 please be sure to reach out. We can be reached, believe it or not, when you send an email to financialaid@american.edu, it gets routed to your unique and specifically assigned counselor, because the technology that we have can recognize your AU issued email, and it does route by last name. To find out who your counselor actually is, please go to the Financial Aid homepage, which is american.edu/financial aid, and click on the Contact Us option. From there, you just need to put the first letter of your last name, and it will give you not only the name of your counselor, but also their contact information. So it'll give you a direct line. We are still answering our phones, so feel free to give them a call if you have questions as well. Okay, so what should you be doing right now? And most of you have already done this. And so this is really probably just a review for you. If you haven't already gone onto the MyAU portal to accept the financial aid that you have been awarded, please do so. Your aid will not show up on your bill as pending until you actually accept the aid. And for some of you, we may have requested additional documentation. Please be sure to go ahead and submit that as well. We won't be able to complete the processing of your aid until we have all of the information that we've requested. Now, some of you may have also been awarded federal loan funding. And if you have, then you need to complete a master promissory note for American University. I know you may have already done this at another school, but now that you're attending American, you'll need to go ahead and do that process all over again. And so you'll need to complete both the entrance counseling and the master promissory note requirements in order for your federal loans to pay here at AU. Okay, and if you're a parent joining us today, welcome. I just want you to know that you also have the option of applying for the Parent Plus loan. This loan is available for parents of undergraduate students who would like to borrow funding to help cover any remaining costs that's not covered by financial aid. You will need to apply by clicking on that option right by the red arrow. And then lastly, you'll need to complete a promissory note once you've completed the application process. And then that information will be sent directly to the American University Financial Aid Office so that we can process it for you. Okay, some of you may have also received a federal work study award. If you have been awarded federal work study, you'll be able to find jobs right on the student jobs page at American. And so even if you're not a recipient of federal work study, but are interested in working a part-time position, information about all types of positions are listed on this particular page. So this next slide is really important. I tell my students and families that this gives you an idea of the timeline for processing of financial aid. So I want to call your attention to three really important pieces of information. So if everything was in place, if we received all of the documentation, everything that we needed from you, and you accepted the aid that you've been awarded, you would have seen your aid as at a pending status on your bill. And that typically happens around July, right about now. And once school actually starts in late August, that's when we're allowed to disperse funds. So the federal government doesn't allow us to go ahead and disperse your financial aid until classes actually begin or right around the start of class. And so that's what's going to happen in the next month or so. I'm going to call your attention to the FAFSA. Even though we have a priority deadline of May 1, FAFSA becomes available in October. So I encourage my students and families, just go ahead and complete it in October. You'll need information not for this current tax year, but for the previous one. So you'll have it available. You'll already have completed your taxes. Feel free to go ahead and complete that application so that you don't have to worry about it later on in the academic year. And then I'm going to call your attention to the fact that we will review your satisfactory academic progress at the end of the academic year. Now, most of you may be familiar with that process. It's basically an evaluation to make sure that you're making progress and that you have fulfilled the requirements in order to renew your aid. So just as it's important for those of you who are receiving need-based assistance from us to complete that FAFSA by May 1, it's also really important to note that we have to conduct this audit before we can award you for the next year. And so your financial aid award letter will probably come from the financial aid office between the months of June and July, but no later than July 1st. Okay, so I mentioned satisfactory academic progress. And so I want to make sure that you know what those requirements are. At AU, if you're receiving any type of merit money, you must complete 2/3 of all attempted credits and maintain a 3.0 cumulative GPA, okay? So of all the classes that you've taken, at American, we'll go ahead and average the grade point average, and the cumulative average of all of those has to be at least a 3.0 or greater. And then for need-based aid, it's the same. You must complete at least 2/3 of all of your attempted credits and obtain at least a 2.0 cumulative GPA. Again, I'm going to remind you at all times throughout the academic year, that's fall and spring, you need to make sure that you maintain full-time enrollment in order for you to retain your AU merit or AU need-based aid. Okay, so I know I've given you a lot of information in a very short amount of time, but I want to make sure that you know that you have resources right at your fingertips. If you do have questions about financial aid, we actually have a pretty robust search feature on the help.american.edu website. So feel free to go ahead and to seek answers at help.american. You all should have an AU issued email. And if you do, then you should be able to log in just by logging in using your AU issued email and the password for that email. And that's how you would access the help.american.edu portal. For those parents who would like to also be able to access all of the information on our website, or for family members who would like to go ahead and access the help.american portal, you too can create your very own account login just by clicking on the guest account to register this one-time process. And then from there, once you've created a login and a password combination, you'll be able to access the site just as your student. And this is what it looks like once you're actually into the site. In order to access information about financial aid and other student services, you would click on the Student Services and Academics option. And then from there, you'd select the financial aid icon that's on the latter part of the page. Okay, so we are done with the formal part of this presentation, and I'm going to ask for you to participate. Feel free to write your answers in the chat box, but I just want to make sure that you have committed to memory all of the important pieces of information that I've provided today. So let's start. What application is needed in order to receive need-based consideration each year? Anybody? Yes, the FAFSA, absolutely. It's the free application for federal student aid. And so that begs the question, what is our priority deadline for the FAFSA? Yes, May 1, thank you. All right, it's not a question on the trivia, but it's gonna be a bonus. Can anyone tell me when the FAFSA becomes available? No? October. Okay, next question. How many credits must a student remain enrolled in order to make sure that they don't jeopardize their AU merit or AU need-based aid? Yes, full-time, 12 credits. 12 credits. All right, next. This is a trick question. Where are we located physically? We are in the Asbury building, Suite 200. So it's a weird U-shaped building on campus. You can't miss it. It's right next to the Bender parking garage. And so when you're on campus, just look out for us. We're actually on the north wing. So it has two different wings. My colleagues in AU Central are on the south wing, and we're in the north wing. And then lastly, where can you go to submit financial aid documents, to find the answers about financial aid? And that is the help.american.edu website. You log in, and then that way you'll be able to submit information to us or ask questions, or simply find answers to some of the questions that you may have. So that's the end of our quiz. Very good. And then for the very last time, I want to make sure that you know where to go to get help, right? And so again, contact your financial aid counselor by going to the financial aid main page and selecting the contact us option. You can email your counselor directly using the financialaid@american.edu website. And then to take a look at your specific financial aids awards, head on over to the MyAU portal. And then lastly, to submit documentation to the financial aid office, go to the help.american.edu portal. All right, that's it. That is the end of my presentation.
Great, thank you, Charlene, and I apologize, my mouse got stuck on that last slide, so I'm glad that we got
That's
that
okay.
So we don't have any questions that have come in just yet, just some great trivia responses. So those of you that are here with us, if you have a question for Charlene, you can put the message in the questions box and we can answer that for you. But again, I think with Charlene, knowing that we have all transfer students on this call, any other sort of maybe knowing that you work with this population as well, anything that might be a little bit different that they need to be mindful of as opposed to the process they had as an incoming first-year student at their previous institution?
Sure. The good news is that, I mean, for most of you, you're familiar with, applying and submitting information. Again, though, just keep in mind that that is the primary way in which we will be communicating with you. We don't send paper letters, we email you. So if anything that comes from the financial aid office, it really usually means that it's important information that you should look at, or there's something that you have to do that we're asking you for. So make sure that you open our emails and read them. So that's the key piece to making sure that you stay on top of all of it.
Good. A couple questions that have come in while we were chatting. Somebody asked, how can I actually talk to somebody at the financial aid office? So again, I know we're in this virtual world. What is the best way to have that voice-to-voice connection a student has?
That's a great question. I'm glad that you asked. The reason that I keep telling you that you have a counselor and encouraging you to go ahead and take a look at who that person is. Once you've determined who your counselor is, for instance, if your last name begins with A, then your counselor is Danetta Burgess. Her information will pop up right in the system, and along with her telephone number. So feel free to call that number. And our counselors are available and will answer between 9 and 5. And I'll tell you right now, if you leave a message, our counselors typically will respond, by the end of the business day, at the very latest the next day.
Yeah, and I think it's sometimes a little confusing with folks being off campus, but I know my office as well, we're very busy with having phone traffic, especially in the summer months like yours. And so we were able to get our office lines patched through to cell phones and home lines. So again, really encourage students to do that. If not, our voicemails also connect to our emails, and then that's how you might be able to get a call back. So if you do get a private number, it may be that somebody, is blocking their personal cell phone number on a return call. But I would just advise students to answer those phone calls if it is coming from an unknown number, especially if you've made outreach to your financial aid counselor.
Correct, because some of those numbers will not appear. It'll just appear as a private number. And so because we are using our cell phone technology, it may just come up without a number. So if you've left a message for us, please don't be leery. It's actually your counselor giving you a call back.
I know this question isn't directly related to your office per se, but I will just answer this as well. The activities fee was reduced for the student activities fee. So the exact is $26 for undergraduate full-time. So good exact math right there. But again, I think if there are any changes or adjustments, I guess maybe that's a question. If there are adjustments or changes to any price points within the university, would that impact the financial aid offerings, or is it up to the student then to determine maybe what pots they want to put that money towards? Or I'm
Actually,
asking
Jen,
the question
that is
in layman's terms.
Jen, that actually is a really good question. And so I will try to answer it also in layman's terms. Think of it this way. Every student has a cost of attendance, a general cost of attendance, right? It takes into consideration the tuition that you've been charged. It takes into consideration mandatory fees, your housing options, your meal options, right? When any of those components change, your cost of attendance changes. And the aid that we give you, the financial aid that you've been awarded, is based on the specific cost of attendance that exists right now. So if the cost of attendance changes, then your aid may change as well. But please don't worry about that, because we will tell you very specifically and clearly, here is what has changed in the cost of attendance, and here's how it impacts your financial aid directly. And so as of right now, we don't anticipate any changes, but if it does change, then we will be notifying our students and families, here's what's happening, here's how the costs may have changed, and here's how it impacts your financial aid eligibility.
Great. Well, I think those are the questions that are front of mind for everybody. But again, first, folks that are watching, really great response from Charlene and her team. So I encourage you to email and again, make those phone calls. They are there between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. East Coast time to be responsive to you all. And any other questions that may come in, send them directly to the financial aid team. So Selena, thank you so much for being behind the scenes, and Charlene, thank you for your time. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody, and be well.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.